Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Cohn with Cynthia Cohn and Associates, a boutique residential real estate brokerage in Los Angeles, California. And I'm here today with State Farm's Sam Lamb. Sam and his team have helped many of my clients secure insurance in high fire zone areas. Sam's here to discuss the recent changes within State Farm and resources for homeowners in California, given the recent changes. But before we get started, Sam, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Cynthia. First of all, thank you so much for even allowing me to have this opportunity. Again, everyone, my name is Sam Lamb. I own and operate my own State Farm insurance agency. We're located in Alhambra, California, just south of San Marino. A little bit about myself is third generation State Farm agent, fifth generation of my family in Pasadena. So I've been in Los Angeles County and San Gabriel Valley my entire life. So very, very familiar with the surroundings here. Have three wonderful teammates, and also my wife works in the office as well. So guys, thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and really excited to kind of discuss what we have on store for us today.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Sam,
Yeah.
what is the current insurance landscape for homeowners today, and how did we get here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a great question, and it should be really the number one question that any potential home buyer and home seller has on their mind right now. The current landscape, in one word or two words, extremely difficult. Insurance is very, very hard to come by for homes, especially in a high wildfire area. And before we kind of dive into that, how we got here, right? That's what we're all wondering, right? How did we get here? It's important for us to understand how we got here to see how we're going to be able to address the problem. So then what does the future look like? Okay. We don't know that until we understand exactly how we got here. And so it actually took place. It's a combination of things, but if we go back in time around the 2017, 2018 wildfires, those wildfires put a lot of insurance companies in a lot of very, very difficult positions. A lot of insurance companies were insuring in high wildfire areas, areas that they felt like they had a very good understanding about price to risk. They felt that they were really able to accurately price the risks that they were taking on. They also had they thought they had a very good understanding of the policy language and the coverages that we were extending over to a lot of those homeowners. When those unexpected wildfires came through, put them in a tremendous, very, very difficult situation, and they were paying out a tremendous amount, not just from fire, you guys. So it's not really the risk that we're worried about, just the home actually burning down, right? But there's another risk that can be extremely expensive for insurance companies, and that's smoke damage. And living in here up against the foothills, we have gone through those very, very difficult wildfire seasons where we've been infiltrated by some very, very heavy soot and smoke in our communities for not days, but for weeks. We remember those times. Well, those smoke damage, that can cause a huge problem for a lot of homeowners in this area, especially for homeowners that have maybe some pre-existing health conditions. Insurance companies, the way that they have wrote their policy language, homeowners found a tremendous amount of coverage for smoke damage within their homes. And what does that actually mean? Guys, it's not about, hey, you've got some smoke damage, we're going to set some fans up in the house and blow the smoke out. That's not how it works, right? That smoke is extremely unhealthy, and we need to make sure that the whole interior and exterior of that home is cleaned. And that is a very, very deep clean service. So it's companies that are coming in, picking up the lamps, turning them upside down, cleaning it from top to bottom. I mean, every single artifact in that home, the drapes, the bedding, the couch cushions behind you, everything needs to be cleaned.
Mhm.
So this is what was happening. Okay. There's also a lot of insurance companies were extending coverage for the bodily injury that a lot of the smoke damage might have occurred to maybe some residents in the house as well. So this is just one example of how wildfires can have such a major impact with insurance companies. We have to remember too that if the home is damaged by a covered loss, okay, and the home becomes uninhabitable, meaning that maybe their kitchen and a bedroom and a bathroom is damaged because of either smoke damage or fire damage or water damage or wind damage, and the homeowner has to live elsewhere, our policies are paying for that homeowner to live elsewhere. So you guys can get an idea of just how expensive these wildfires can be. So what was happening? Okay. What is the ultimate result of those wildfires? Well, you put a tremendous amount of pressure on these insurance carriers, and they were finding that their losses were paying out at a much, much greater amount and at a much, much higher frequency. So the severity of losses were increasing, and the severity of losses were increasing, and the frequency of these claims were occurring at a much more rapid clip than we anticipated. So now that is not feasible as an insurance carrier. Okay. And as time went on, especially as we entered into COVID and in the middle of COVID, we started as a captive agent with State Farm, started hearing that insurance carriers were shutting down, okay, not offering any type of homeowners insurance policies within California, or even more drastic, they were leaving the state entirely. Okay. These were, for example, we had large insurance carriers like a Chubb, an AIG completely shutting down. Farmers had been shut down for a while. Allstate shut down for a while. We're just hearing that Nationwide has completely stopped issuing new policies throughout the entire nation. And it's a combination of those previous wildfires, the severity of losses increasing dramatically, also the frequency of those losses increasing dramatically. Now, if you couple that with everything that we've heard of through COVID, with when we going through the supply chain disruptions, those inflationary metrics that we look at every single day in terms of what was lumber pricing at, right? What was copper pricing at? What was labor? The labor supply really shrinking and really tightening. So labor was going through the roof. We were paying a tremendous amount, or much longer, on claims that people had to live outside of their home because there wasn't contractors available to work on their home. There wasn't lumber available. All of these things are kind of the perfect storm, putting so much pressure on these insurance companies. Department of Insurance trying to work with these insurance companies to make sure that these insurance companies have enough reserves in the tank to pay for any future claims. That is a primary focus of the Department of Insurance. Number one, to make sure that these insurance carriers are feasible, right? Number two, protecting those consumers, making sure that that insurance is available at a very, very competitive price. Now, when we start removing insurance carriers from the state, right, and we're shrinking that supply of available insurance, what happened is it's putting a tremendous amount of pressure on State Farm. State Farm, being the great company that it is, has remained open for as long as they could, basically for the last 2.5 years, insuring in a lot of areas that might have been deemed maybe a higher risk or something that a lot of other insurance carriers weren't comfortable with. But we were really a major player in allowing the market to continue to remain open and give people a place to go. Now, we were one of the last insurance carriers to stop writing new business in California. That was just as of about 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where we are right now. And that's kind of that's how we got there. A perfect storm, really, for the last 5 to 6 years. And this is kind of the resulting effect that we're kind of facing right now. So it's important to understand exactly what went into all of this, right? And what do we see going forward, which we can talk about a little bit later. And what do we do right now, right? With such a limited supply or availability of insurance policies or of insurance carriers, how do we manage that? And then how do we educate our customers on making sure that they are exhausting the right resources to making sure that they're getting the proper policy at a very, very competitive price, and how they can budget for the increased cost of insurance. And do we think that cost, is it going to continue to remain this high? Could it even go higher? Or could it maybe go lower in the next couple of years? We can talk about all of those things.
Yeah. Wow. It's a lot to digest, and I really appreciate you taking us through the steps of actually how we got to this place. Out of curiosity, how do you think the current insurance restrictions possibly might affect some of the buyers that are out there? And
Right.
also, what companies are still insuring for those buyers that want to purchase a home in the next year?
Yeah. So I want to talk about, you brought up a great point about the current restrictions. It's very important to know what we could be facing with if I'm a customer that just thankfully got their offer accepted.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, some of the different restrictions that I'm hearing about right now is there's many insurance carriers like State Farm that are not accepting any new business whatsoever. Now, right as of now, we're not hearing about this type of moratorium impacting current policyholders, but it affects all of our new policyholders that were used to coming to us because they want the coverage with such a great company. But now they don't have that option. So that's a restriction, right? Like that supply of available insurance policies is really drying up. Okay. Now, the ones that are remaining open, what are some of their restrictions look like? Okay. It's important to understand that insurance companies, instead of completely pulling out of the state altogether,
Mhm.
they can pull different levels or different restrictions on really trying to slow the amount of business that's coming in, because no insurance carrier wants to be the last man standing. We all want healthy competition. We want to spread this risk out as best as we can because that is ultimately what is best for the consumer.
Mhm.
So some of those restrictions, what they look like, there's some insurance carriers that might say your home has to, for us to be able to offer you a policy, has to be built before or after a certain date. So
Mhm.
any homes maybe built before 1997 might not be eligible with a certain insurance carrier. Another example are some of the restrictions that we might be seeing, because I think what is a big misunderstanding for a lot of the consumers out there, that they feel that they're wondering, why is this happening when we don't really hear a lot about homes burning down, right? Why is fire such a concern if we're not hearing about that? We're only hearing about that in homes that are built in heavily wooded areas, right? Elevated wildfire areas. What a lot of people don't understand is some of the things that keep us up at night are water damage.
Mhm.
So all of that domestic plumbing that's running through our houses, right?
Mhm.
Or those toilets that don't, function properly, and we've got a multi-story home, and dad leaves for work, and then the kids have left the toilet running. It didn't work as properly, and it's overflowing from the second story all the way down into the first story. Guys, these are claims that I get on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
Okay. What's important to understand is because of everything that we've been through, okay, with inflation, with a very, very tight labor supply, those claims that are happening today are astronomically bigger, cost so much more today than they did if they happened in 2017 and 2018.
Mhm.
Okay. Insurance companies, we need to pay what we owe. Okay. And we have to take into account inflation, and which is why there's like inflationary metrics on your policy, why your coverage is, it's important that it is increasing every year to keep pace with inflation. But because these are all things that we need to understand, because insurance carriers are responsible for this.
Mhm.
Okay. So the reason why I pointed that out is because a restriction that people need to know about that could be, a possibility, is if your home requires a certain amount of coverage, okay, the insurance carrier might request that you put in a automatic water shutoff valve that has a leak detection system in
Mhm.
it. Okay, because water damage is definitely a loss that keeps insurance companies up every night. There
Mhm.
can be many other restrictions that we need to be aware of. Insurance carriers might say no to any homes that have maybe a wood shake roof,
Mhm.
right? Anything that could possibly give the insurance company an idea that this is an elevated fire risk.
Mhm.
Okay. There are some insurance carriers that will also determine that certain zip codes are ineligible.
Mhm.
Insurance companies are absolute data magnets. They have all the data in the world to use that data to help them price risk properly, right? And so if they have all this data within certain zip codes that are or seeming to be an elevated area that or an elevated risk area, they could deem that zip code ineligible altogether. So this is really, really important to understand because consumers need to know some of the obstacles that they could be faced with. Then they need to make sure that they have the right partners in place so they can use them as a resource to help navigate through these potential obstacles. And then they need to understand that these things are always changing and that we need to stay on top of it. We need to have calls like this as much as possible. And we all need to understand, since we know how we got here, what might it look like in the future and how we can potentially navigate some other obstacles that might be coming, right? So those are just some of the restrictions that are in place. Again, they're changing all the time, but that's why it's so important to partner with a professional like you and to use your network, because I know that you have a tremendous amount of other partners that can help people navigate through this kind of very rocky road with the insurance industry right now.
Right. And it was just making me think, of ensuring that a property is insurable is part of the due diligence a buyer does throughout
Yes,
contingency period, their investigation period. And
right,
thinking about what we would want all of our buyers to do as soon as they have interest, maybe in a home, to go ahead and call their insurance provider, give them the address, and sort of get a jump start on it. So you have a real good idea of sort of what obstacles or restrictions there might be that you can work around, um,
right,
and just not do it last minute. The other thing
right,
I was thinking for a seller on that side as well, how important it is for a seller to know what restrictions there may be. And,
right.
sort of understanding their home and what things might, what challenges might come up in advance. So it's not such a surprise. Well, which companies are still insuring, Sam?
Yeah, so I don't know of many, to be honest with you, but we do have a lot of insurance partners that we have created an alliance with that are insurance brokers that have the capability to completely scan the market and look for indications from different companies that are willing to insure in different areas. I know Farmers is still taking on new business. For how long? I don't know. AAA still taking on new business, but all of these insurance carriers have these different restrictions in place. Okay, and so why this is important is because for your customers, I want to make sure to guide them that they understand that they should not just be looking at maybe just one captive insurance company like a State Farm, where I am only able to broker policies with State Farm, but to actually be working with an insurance broker that can look at all different carriers. You just don't stop at like a State Farm. Oh, State Farm can't do it. There's nothing we can do. That's not true. Okay. We have to then go to maybe AAA that might be able to do it. We're then going to also look at Farmers, right? See if they can do it. We're also then going to work with an insurance broker who maybe can look at maybe 3 or 4 different carriers that have the potential, the possibility that they can do it as well. So it's not really about, okay, well, who's still open, right? Because it changes literally on a weekly basis. It's about, well, who am I going to partner up with, right? And so, for example, if you just are partnering up with just one captive agent, like a State Farm agent, right? Even though State Farm is not taking in any new business whatsoever for fire policies, okay? The State Farm agent should be like, no matter what, I just want to be a resource for you. I want to be, I'm grateful for the opportunity to help you. I am going to partner up with other insurance brokers, and we are going to work together on finding out, trying to get an indication from other insurance carriers on who is willing to take on this risk. Okay. Now, what's important to know is if we run into the possibility where we're in a very high wildfire area, there might not be any carriers willing to take on that risk. So then what does it look like from there? Okay. It's important for everyone to understand that that doesn't mean that the deal is not going to happen, that you're not going to be able to get a policy in place. The California Department of Insurance has done a great job in making sure that there's the availability through the California Fair Plan. So you can get that policy through the California Fair Plan, which is going to be giving you the coverage for fire. Okay. But there's some big gaps. There's some big coverages that are missing in that California Fair Plan. So that's where you're going to also be working with an insurance broker to create what we call a companion policy or a difference in conditions policy, where they're going to create another standard homeowners policy that is going to have all the protections in place, but excluding fire, but giving you all the other important protections like the water damage, like the wind damage, theft, vandalism, bodily injury liability, medical coverage, all of those important other coverages. So it's not about who's still remaining open. It's about, hey, who am I partnering with? We want the best professionals on our team to make sure that they are exhausting every single resource to get a policy in place.
Mhm. So what I hear you saying is, for any buyer for any type of home, really calling and, really having an understanding which carriers have availability, are working with you, and also which brokers, and really maybe putting out a wider net to figure out, what options you have as a potential home buyer with your insurance. And
Right,
the
right.
California Fair Plan, the companion policy is always necessary, isn't that correct?
Absolutely,
Okay.
right? Because it's important for everyone to understand that that fair plan policy is there strictly to protect the homeowner from fire damage only, right? But as I've already mentioned, the majority of my losses are not fire or not smoke damage. It's that water damage, it's that wind damage, it's that bodily injury
Mhm.
claims that we're seeing, which is why that companion policy is so important.
Right, right. So for now, like, what can home buyers do to lower the cost of their homeowners insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an important question because I want to prepare everyone that I am not anticipating the cost of insurance to go down anytime soon.
Mhm.
I'm not anticipating that a flood of new insurance carriers are going to enter into California,
Mhm.
lowering the cost of insurance. There's probably a pretty good chance that the weather events that we've been through in the last 5 to 10 years aren't going anywhere. We're still not out of the woods with the drought. I mean, insurance carriers are looking at this very closely, which all add to the cost of insurance. I
Mhm.
was on a call with the Department of Insurance just the other day, and they brought an outstanding fact to our attention that 2/3 of all home buyers are underinsured right now
Mhm.
because the cost to rebuild or repair a home has greatly exceeded our expectations over the last couple of years. So it's very important that for existing policyholders that they are reaching out to their current insurance professional and going through their policy step by step, reviewing exactly what the data that the insurance company is using to formulate their estimated replacement
Oh my
cost,
gosh, that is an amazing,
right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
important. I'm thinking about my own policies and I
right.
do that. Yeah.
These insurance companies can give you a printout of all the data that they're using based off of your home to formulate what they're recommending, what the actual estimated repair or replacement cost would be on your home. Make sure that all of that data is correct, because as I've said before, 2/3 of all of the homeowners are underinsured right now.
Mhm.
So what we want to make sure is, hey, we want to make sure that we have the right coverage in place, but we also want to make sure that we're getting as much coverage as we can at the most affordable price. Okay, guys, right now is the best time that if you're purchasing a new home and you find a carrier willing to take on that risk, is that you're exploring all the discounts available. So
Mhm.
if I'm working with that carrier, I want a list of all the discounts available. Okay, the biggest discounts that consumers are going to find with other insurance carriers is the discount for bundling their home and their auto, and very important, their umbrella policy. Okay, that's another policy that is just as important as your homeowner's insurance and your auto insurance. These policies all play off one another and can add 20, 30, 40% worth of discounts off one another. Make sure that if you're working with a Farmers or a Nationwide or State Farm or even Allstate or AAA, what are my bundling options so I can have my home and my umbrella and my auto insurance and my life insurance? How can we make sure that we're not leaving any savings on the table when it comes to bundling? Okay. Also, guys, a lot of insurance carriers will give you a discount if you have an alarm on your home. Okay. The alarm a lot of times has to be a centrally monitored alarm. What that means, that is, if the alarm is triggered, the alert will go to a company that is centrally monitoring your location. And if you do not silence that alarm, or if that company cannot call you and make sure that you're okay, they will automatically dispatch fire and police.
Mhm.
So that's another potential discount. Also, very, very important, a lot of insurance carriers will give you a discount based on the age of your utilities in your home. Okay. People are wondering, what are those utilities? Throughout COVID, people weren't going anywhere. They were saving money on not going out or not taking that trip. But guess what? They want to put it into a new kitchen today. I
Mhm.
think more than there was an article in the Wall Street Journal today that I think 80% of everyone they interviewed is planning on or wanting to do a home project this year. Okay. I think the number one area that they want to put their money into is in a kitchen or new bathrooms or updating the master bedroom. Okay. Well, okay, if we're going to be putting money into new utilities in the home, like new copper plumbing, okay, or if we're going to be doing, hey, the air conditioning unit, it's on its way out. Okay, we want all new central heat in the house. Hey, we still have some old knob and tube in the house, which is a huge fire risk, or we need to update our panel because we now have an electric vehicle in the house. Guys, you have to work with your insurance company to understand what the possible discounts are available to you for these updated utilities. So if you're updating electrical, if you're updating the plumbing, if you're updating the air conditioning, a lot of insurance companies, if you have done all three and a licensed contractor signs off on maybe a document stating the age of the utilities,
Mhm.
that insurance company, that's a much lower risk compared to a home that has utilities that are 20, 30, or even 40 years old. I
Mhm.
have seen some of these new utility discounts be as large as 30 to 40%. Understand that that is a discount that is, possibly there for you. Okay. The other thing too, guys, and this is going to be a part of our life in the near future, is we have to become familiar with what I talked about before, those automatic water leak detection systems.
Mhm.
Okay. One that I've seen that is I've gotten great responses on is Flow by Moen. And I've just that's just what I've seen policyholders use in the past. I have no connection with them whatsoever. But this is a system where a licensed plumber can go ahead and put this automatic water shutoff valve in the home, which is brings so much peace of mind, because what it does is it starts learning your habits. And if that system notices that there's water running when it usually hasn't been running in the past, it can send you an alert and you can silence the alert saying everything's okay. If you don't silence that alert, it'll automatically shut off the water.
Mhm.
And this has saved our homeowners so much time, so much stress, and so much money, because a lot of times these water leaks go unnoticed, and they just tend to happen when a lot of our homeowners are on vacation or at work,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
right? An absolute nightmare. That, okay, I could see that being a requirement in the future
Mhm.
for new homeowners policies. And I think the what insurance companies are doing right now is collecting data on based on, hey, what type of risks are we seeing, or what type of losses are we seeing when someone has one of these automatic water shutoff valves? And if we start to see a huge decrease in claims on homeowners that have these automatic water shutoff valves, they're going to start offering discounts for
Yeah.
it as well. So anytime you do anything to the house, guys, any type of improvements whatsoever, we get a new roof, right? We get new windows. The next call has to be with your insurance professional to make sure that they're updating that report that they use to formulate your estimated replacement cost. You get all new windows. We went from vinyl to really nice wood windows. We want to make sure that that report is updated. Hey, plumbing has now been updated. It's now based on 2023, not 1979. We've got to make sure that report is updated. And by doing that, you're going to be able to have those conversations, to be asking them, or at least have the opportunity to say, since I've done these, what discounts are available to me?
Mhm.
Do not leave any money on the table. It's a really quick phone call.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And it sounds like we all have some homework to do.
Yeah,
pull your
definitely.
policy out, take a look, make sure you're covered enough with all the improvements you've made, and make sure your insurance company is aware of these improvements as well. So
Right.
Sam, this has really been terrific. And I know it's just really just a bit of information about some of the changes in the insurance industry, especially in California. And there's a lot more we could talk about, but I want to thank you so much for your time today. What is the best place for people to contact you if they have more questions?
Guys, we're always available to you. I mean, we welcome any type of call at our office. Our direct line is area code 626-500-1300. Very easy to remember. 626-500-1300. You can also find us at www.samlaminsurance.com. You can also email me at sam@samlaminsurance.com. But look, I'm the 5th generation in Pasadena. Okay. The most important thing that I try and live by every single day is I'm asking, how am I going to be helpful to someone every single day? This is the environment that I find myself in. Okay. We're going to get through it, but this gives me a lot of time to be a resource for people. And I truly believe that people will remember us during this time because it's all about helping people. So why do I say that? So I welcome anyone to please call us. Okay. Give us the opportunity to help. This is how we get better, guys, by answering your questions. If we don't know the answer to your question, we will tell you we don't know, but we will find out. This is how we get better. Okay. Please, everyone, this is a very, very difficult insurance market to navigate. You cannot do it on your own. Do not hesitate to ask for help and expand your team of professionals. Call us. If we don't know the answer, we will find the answer for you. If we can't help you, we will find someone that will be able to help you.
Oh, Sam, I really appreciate that you took time out today to talk
Always.
to me and anyone today who's listening. And that might be, a potential buyer out there, a buyer currently in the market, a seller maybe thinking about selling, and just all of us who own a home. How are these changes going to impact us in the future? And I really appreciate you pointing out, the positives and the opportunities, because we do have still a tremendous amount of opportunity to invest in real estate in our area and to have an insurance policy that protects you and your family, even in this environment. So I appreciate
Right.
you sharing all that today. And of course, why I've always loved partnering with you, Sam, is that you are always available and act as a resource in our community. And I really appreciate having you on my team. And that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
You're
Cynthia.
welcome, Sam.
This is so
Well,
fun.
thank you so much. Well, I'm the owner of Cynthia Cohn and Associates, one of LA's very few women-owned residential real estate brokerages. And to us and our firm, there is nothing more important than you, your dreams, and your goals. And our mission is really simple: to provide you and your family unmatched value by delivering world-class protection, heartfelt care, and guaranteed results when you need and deserve it most. So if you are interested in selling or buying a home, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm here also as a resource to you all. You can reach me at 626-714-6808 or on our website at www.cynthiacohn.com. Thank you, everybody. And please reach out if you have any further questions. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.